People,
Yes.
you don't need to relegate your whole business over to somebody else like my dumbass did, but you do need to find people that have achieved the levels of success that you want, and you say, what did you do? How did you get there? What standards did you have to hold to achieve that? And then I'm just not that smart. I just know how to copy and paste. You know what I mean? Like, I've had the shit kicked out of me. I'm like, okay, that's not fun. Let's look at success and copy, paste, boom. That's the way to go.
What if I told you the way it has always been done is not the best way? Facing your fears will change your life. The passion behind this journey is merging two separate worlds into one with the goal of creating value and awareness for a better life.
I'd rather be sidelined trying to achieve greatness than watch greatness achieved and it only set on the sideline. Now introducing your host, Jacob Emery.
This episode of the Iron and Infrastructure Podcast is brought to you by Unlocking Greatness with Jacob Emery, a coaching community built for those ready to become the strongest version of themselves. Weekly calls, proven playbooks, and a community built to grow. Greatness is not given, it's unlocked. Join us today at jacobemery.com or DM coach at jacobemery44 on all social media platforms. Welcome to another edition of the Iron and Infrastructure Podcast. Holy shit, ladies and gentlemen, you are in for a treat today. I just met this man, Justin Lund, and I'm telling you what, this story has got some firepower. My God, we just sat here and BS for about 20 minutes, and I am just dumbfounded at the warrior in this man and doing the right thing, fighting through it, making it a survival at whatever means necessary. Justin, welcome to the show, dude. Your story's incredible. I can't wait for everyone to listen to this. You're a fucking stud, first of all.
Thanks, Jake. Yeah, no, I'm not.
This is amazing, Justin. Thanks for your time today. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I cannot do your story justice. I can't even attempt to. So I just want you to get right into the good stuff. Who is Justin Lund? What have you been through? And just throw it out there. Just go for it.
Yeah, let me give you some highlights, and then you can decide if you want to dig into some
Let's
any
do
other
it.
particular direction. So, as a kid, my brother bought Personal Power, Tony Robbins. It was an infomercial when I was like 8 years old. You know, so I was little. It was $300, I think, at the time. So it's like 12 grand in today's dollars. And he bought this program, and I see it arrive, and he's like, hey, you can just, listen to it whenever you want. I thought it was so cool. So I hear Tony Robbins talking about flying into these events in his helicopter himself. And I thought, that's awesome. Like, I don't want a boss tell me what to do when I grow up. I want to be like that guy and flying in a freaking helicopter. So that kind of lit a fire, planted a seed at least, as far as just having some entrepreneurial drive and trying to figure out something like that in my life. That also planted a seed of self-development and looking at things that I can just always feed my mind with. We spoke about that for the last few minutes. I love that and continued to consume a lot of content like that over the years. And then fast forward, as I grew, I had different jobs and different things that taught me a lot of great lessons. And then I landed in a sales job after getting married a little young and with a baby on the way. So I had to make some money to provide for a new family, kind of an unplanned family. It was a little sudden. And sales was something that I was kind of naturally, I could get on the phone. It was all over the phone. I could get on the phone and pitch deals and practice sounding like Tony Robbins as much as I could pull off. And that was my sales pitch. So I'm like, this is great. And that's after I tried college and I took psychology classes and things, but I never really could see myself sticking with that or going down the route of being a therapist or a social worker or something like that. So sales gave me the best of both worlds, high income, and I could talk about and think about psychology all day long. And research and development was reading the next personal improvement book that came out, So I liked it, but it was a toxic environment, and I got into drugs. There was a lot of people doing drugs in that repetitive environment. And I've since learned that it's probably because of rejection. You get rejected a lot as a sales guy, and you numb that kind of pain any way you can if you don't have awareness or other better tools. Then you may turn to drugs or drinking or other things. So I got into pain pills and became addicted to those, and that path, that's a very terrible road to go down. I tried to kick it on my own. I was married, now had 2 kids. They were little, a 2-year-old, a baby. And I'm trying to kick this habit thinking, I can't keep doing this. And so every time I could try to figure out a way to get, my wife had no idea. I was trying to keep everything quiet,
I was getting ready to ask that too.
Yeah. So every time she would have any kind of reason that she could leave the house, I'd say, well, yeah, why don't you just go for a couple of days? And then I would try in those couple of days to kick the habit on my own. And I'd go through the sweats and the shivers and the shakes and the, all these convulsions and things that happen physiologically from those kinds of withdrawals. And I just couldn't do it. Probably did that over a dozen times over the course of 18 months or so, 16, 18 months. And the addiction just kept getting worse because every time I'd fail doing it my own, I'd go back a little bit stronger, a little bit harder, a little bit more passionate with my addiction side. And then I started getting pinched by the law. I started running into trouble with the cops. Went to jail a couple times in as many months. And the first time is like, okay, now the cat's out of the bag. People know that I've got this issue and things are starting to add, like this weird behavior that I've been exhibiting for the last couple of years starts to add up a little, but I'm still trying to lie my way out of it. And then I get arrested a second time because I just didn't learn the first time, kind of a stubborn.
What were you arrested for? Like, was it a drug charge?
Yeah, drug charges. Okay, yeah. Yep. I was just pulled over, just looking suspicious, being, kind of a dirtbag and not, I just was attracting that energy because I was not living up to what I could potentially do. And so a little bit of peeking into it would find, they'd look into the car, they'd see some pills, they would not see a prescription for those pills. And then the pills became more street drugs that of like kind, like heroin and different things that are cheaper than pills. So yeah, that was it all came to a head in a couple of months. And then I was sitting with an attorney through the glass on the phone thing, in jail. And he had come down the first time and helped me get out. And now the second time he's like, what are you doing? His name's Ed. And he said, what are you doing, man? I'm like, Ed, you got to help me get out of here. He's like, here's what I think we could do. If I do this, 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 and this, maybe I can get like 3 years, maybe 3 to 5 at the worst, but probably maybe good behavior out of 2. And I'm like, Ed, I've got a 1-year-old, dude, and a 3-year-old. Like, I can't just go away for 2 or 3 years. And he's like, what the fuck do you want me to do? You were arrested twice in 2 months with enough drugs that it makes it look like you're trying to distribute those drugs. And I'm a good lawyer, but I'm not a magician. And I was like, dude. And then I began to realize the severity of what was going on.
Wow.
And that he came up with a plan that maybe if we stretch the trial date as far away as possible, and you just are perfect, like you're a perfect saint between now and then, and he'll try to get every continuance and delay and anything he can come up with, and then maybe we can have the trial in a year. And if by then we can show how you're a good contributing member of society, there's a chance that you don't go to prison and maybe you only go for a few months, 6 months, maybe, whatever, some restitution. I'm like, okay, dude, make it happen. Let's figure this out. So he got me into a rehab facility. I left jail. I went to rehab almost directly. I did get to go home and just grab a few things, and then I was off. My wife took me up there, and I was absolutely terrified. But that was the next big chapter of my life, like learning. I was there 6 weeks, and it was all about me. I mean, there was 18 other residents, I think, in this place. It was not a nice place. It wasn't a fancy place. We had nothing because I had ruined everything we had financially on a habit. And then going in there, though, it was all psychology, and there's this thing that I loved anyway, but it wasn't just psychology principles. It was about my psychology. There's a team of doctors and therapists and psychologists talking about like what makes me tick and why when I see this, I make this choice instead of normal people that make that choice. I'm like, oh, but even better, I started to get this idea of frameworks. And this started to ring true back to my childhood when I'm reading about Tony Robbins stuff, where if I get a stimulus to do something and it makes me feel a certain way, that I can disrupt that and I can choose a new way with the right frameworks by identifying what's going on, by identifying the stimulus, the input, identifying the reaction, and then identifying the output. So these frameworks weren't ambiguous. It wasn't just like, think your way to a better life. It was concrete. They were steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it started to take hold, and I'm like, holy shit, I'm getting out of this joint. I'm going to be helped. I'm going to kick some ass, I learned a lot about who I was in there. And I came out with this newfound, I mean, number one, just the physiological improvement. It was every day. I don't know if you've ever struggled with things like that, but my chemistry of my brain and my body had all just been like altered through these drugs. And literally every day for the next 9 months, I measured it, 9 months. Every day I would wake up and be like, no, I could feel a measured difference over the day before when I woke up.
Wow.
And it just blew my mind. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. This is so cool. I feel great. And then it started to kind of taper off into sort of like normal. And that was and there was a reason for this. There's brain cells and different things that have had receptors blocked. And every day, some of them release. And more dopamine can get into the body, which for me to get any kind of dopamine, I was doing a lot of dumb stuff before. So now this naturally is happening. I'm like, so it's kind of like getting a little bit high that stays high all day, and the next day you get a little bit higher, and it's just natural, and it feels good, and there's no side effect. It was great.
Was it just like you becoming present again and to reality and not distorted, reality of drugs?
There was present. This is what's weird, man. There was that presence, yes, but there was also a physical. Like I would sleep more soundly, so I'd wake up more restored and refreshed, and I could truly compare it with the day before and be like, that's even better. It blew my mind that it just kept happening. I didn't think it would happen so long, but it did. It was 9 months after I left rehab, so it was pretty cool.
That's incredible. Well, we haven't even talked about this either, ladies and gentlemen. Just for the record, this hasn't even been mentioned yet, so you're hearing it here first with me. And I thought what we talked about, which will come up here in a little bit, was profound without even having that beginning there. So you were in this place of hell. I mean, my God, you probably didn't understand the addiction path or why you went there, and you probably then figured it out, got through and got clean, the reality check of getting clean, and then I don't know where this heads, but you went through this literal hell, and then you understand the world very presently. So what ended up happening after that point? What was the outcome did you get sentenced, or what ended up happening?
No, so we left there. While I was there for 6 weeks, my wife sold the house, sold the car. She got out of everything, tried to minimize some of the financial chaos that I left on her plate as a nice gift before I went into rehab. And so we were upside down, maybe $40,000 in debt, but we didn't lose the house. We sold it right before it was foreclosed on. I mean, things were bad. I left rehab and I went into my mom's house, is where she and I lived. We slept on the floor. My mom has a 2-bedroom, like 1,300 square foot house. The kids were in the bedroom, and my wife and I slept on the floor of the living room. And that was our arrangement for about a year. And what I'd learned, that if I hadn't gone to rehab, even if I would have been successful in overcoming the addiction by myself, what I learned is that the reason I was doing some of those things is because the jobs I held and the purpose that I felt kind of in my heart, I was never true to. And there was a turning point in rehab. I remember there was my favorite guy there was Dr. Bob, and he looked like Santa Claus. He was old, big white beard, big belly. And I said something one day in a group like, if I could just get out of here, I'll work at McDonald's, flip burgers, anything to be with my family. And he throws his pencil on the ground and he's like, you're a stupid fuck then. I was like, wait. He would just say that, really disrupt me, and it shocked me because I'm thinking it's Santa, and Santa shouldn't talk to me like that. Right. That's not nice. And told me, and that's where I really started to make these connections. Like, my behavior and some of the dumb things I do are a result of me not being true to myself or pursuing something, or always having an excuse on why that didn't work out because he ruined it and she ruined it, and these different things that were going on. So I knew that I needed to try my hand at something, and I had that entrepreneurial seed planted in me from childhood. And so I got out, slept on mom's floor, and started working on building a business by myself. And that was hard because my wife was like, you're a piece of shit. You've done this to us. And, she wanted to kill me, and she had every reason in the world to kill me from what I'd been doing to her. And I had to fight through that and stay true to my path and just see, can I pull this off? So I had a bit of a chip on my shoulder, and I wanted to prove to my wife, to the world, to society, to all the rest of my family,
it's yourself.
And me, that I could do something.
Right.
So it was day over day, compounding one brick on top of the next, on top of the next, and it was very, very slow. And for that first year, there was no income. So it wasn't good at home. But I had the tools and the framework from rehab that helped me deal with what I was going through at that time to still put one brick on top of the next.
Yeah.
And that's what finally started to take. And there's a whole, I can go on for hours, but there's a lot of miracles and some really cool shit that happened through that time frame. But then things started to turn, and I started to get a little bit of revenue. I had revenue growing, and it would steadily grow, but every time it would, I'm talking about $1,000 the first few months, and then I'm talking about 6 or 7, and within 6 months, and
you're just putting it all back in to keep it going, right?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Didn't take a dime out, and then I was like, okay, I got enough money. Maybe I can build a website for myself now. And then I just little things that I was trying to grow, and I got to the point where I was doing 7 figures by myself, and that was about a year and a half, 2 years into it. And I started getting kind of I was working my ass off. I was working 18 hours a day. I would do my own books on Sunday, and I shouldn't, I don't belong in the books. It's not where I'm good. I have no business being there. But I was recognizing, okay, I'm proving that this is working. I'm proving that I can do it. So I'm checking a couple of the boxes, and I'm even taking some money out and paying off some of the old debts that we'd had. Not out of debt yet, but paying some down. So there was progress. I had some value and worth in terms of society's eyes. But I knew that my kids are growing, it's taking a toll, and needed to kind of make some changes. So I called some of my clients at the time and said, I'm just going to turn things down a little bit, because I figured I could probably make $200,000 or $300,000 a year, cut my hours back a little bit, and that's a damn good income, especially considering where I just came from.
Right, yeah.
So one-man band, just doing it on my own, that would be a pretty good gig. And all my clients immediately says, okay, we're going to find somebody else. And so I was like, wait, whoa, hold on, never mind. Just let's erase that. I realized if I don't grow, I will go backwards.
Yep.
And they gave me a very clear delineation of a line that if you're not going to go the direction that we want to go, then we're going to find somebody else who is. You're not just going to part-time work with us.
Right.
So that's that kind of added pressure that my perceived pressure of that is when I started talking to somebody to help me with taxes and payroll and employees. I needed to hire people because I just couldn't do it. I was literally falling asleep on my computer keyboard and waking up after 3 hours and going oh shit, it's 4:00 in the morning and I haven't been home yet. I gotta. So I brought somebody in to help me with all of these things, and the short version of that story is he was looking for a mark, and I was a beautiful mark for him because I was bringing in a lot of cash. I was completely ignorant, and I'm not good with numbers, and the tax stuff kind of scares me. And then he just put me. Sorry, I didn't mean to do the confetti.
I don't know what just happened. It's fitting.
Then over the next 5 or 6 years, we built that into a 9-figure company, and he ended up taking about, I don't know the exact number because we never really could identify every single dollar, but it was over $20 million that was taken, and the whole thing kind of crumbled, and he ran off with all of it. So there was a kind of an abrupt end, and I was left with falsified tax returns that had forged signatures of mine on it. And I had to uncover that mess without any of the money left to do it.
Wow. And this is where the story really gets wild. One thing in life that's inevitable, we're going to have hardship in life. Our lives are not going to be easy. The only thing that makes them harder, I think, is believing it to be truly easy. But getting better and embracing what hard looks like and understanding it, this is what hard feels like. This is pressure. We have profits, so we don't have nothing more than puzzles. It's not painful yet. We don't have big problems right here. Mm-hmm. But my friend, you went in that phase where I got a big puzzle I'm working on. I'm going to scale it, grow it. Life is good. Till I have nothing. And everything I thought was real was fake. And I'm legally bound to that. Mm-hmm. And I'm in a position of hell. And I had nothing to do with that initially outside of just not being involved in that enough and trusting somebody.
Yeah, just having a head in the sand sort of strategy when it came to things that I'm not good at, that I didn't really want to deal with, I didn't want to address. And you're absolutely right, Jacob. It was like it was a punch in the gut. I remember just as the realization came over me, and I'd had people even say like, "You need to be careful." As leading up to the it was too late even then, but leading up to it, there were signs and things I should have seen. But when that realization finally washed over me, it was just like, it's gone. It's all gone. There's no more to it. And this lifestyle of millions of dollars of cash flow every month, millions and millions, is completely obliterated, and there's nothing left.
And essentially fake, right?
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, essentially, you know it's real, but on tax returns, it's not. You know?
Right.
So it's like,
Yeah.
what happened?
I didn't even know that yet.
Yeah.
Later I learned, as I started to think about like, well, what are the consequences of what just happened? In addition to the obvious, which is all the money's gone, I started to consider like, well, what has really been going on? And so I met with some professionals, some lawyers and CPAs, and started looking at the numbers compared to the numbers that I had kind of estimates of. And they're like, wow, the tax returns that were filed under your name have no bearing. Like, they're not even close to the picture you're telling us about. So I started the process of trying to find how to put the pieces together. And that the only way that you can really do that with some other third party is you try to subpoena and you try to go to court, you try to litigate. And so I started that process.
And there's no good reason to have to do that, right? At that point, it's like you're going to get resistance because there's nothing good for anybody at this point that's going to come out of it. It's going to uncover everyone's dirty laundry at that point, right?
Absolutely.
So the resistance, I'm sure, was there. I'm sure that was a dogfight in itself just to get that.
And just to know that like the parties that I were going up against have much bigger pockets. They have all the money that was there once that I don't now have, and that I'd heard quotes from these parties before saying like, litigation is the game of kings, and only the faint of heart should not enter. Like, only the strong and the rich can play this game. And here I am now, broke and not feeling very strong, very faint of heart, and thinking I got to go into this game knowing that their strategy is going to be to stretch it out as long as possible, to make it as expensive and painful on me as possible. And that's exactly what they did. Over the next 4.5 years, they sued everybody close to me that they could find a name and an address for, just to fuck with me. Just so
they want to bury you psychologically, mentally, and physically. Yeah. They want you to go away. Wow.
Yep, it was intense. So I moved to a tiny little town in New England to get off the radar, and I literally started learning how to meditate. I would spend an hour in the morning because the psychological, emotional weight, the pain, I had to learn how to forgive because it was going to kill me and eat me up inside. All these things that I'd let this person into my home daily with my family, and he's taken everything from me. And so I'm like, okay, this is poison. It's going to poison me before it poisons him. And like I've got to figure out some new strategies here because this ain't working. I'm going to lose my mind doing this way. I've already lost all my finances, so and I just started turning more to God. And I started putting more faith in those things. I started reading different books on mind and meditation. I'd go and sit at home every morning and I'd get my mind clear, and it was a good place to do that because there wasn't a lot of noise. There was birds, there was bears, there was deer. It was nice and peaceful, and that was what I spent my time doing. And then after I did that in the morning, I'd spend the next 7 or 8 hours every day reading a stack of deposition papers from the day before, or going through bank statements from 200 different bank accounts that were set up, and how money's transferred, and trying to track down where one goes, how this goes. Like, it was a mess.
It's making my skin crawl thinking about like that reality as you're saying it, because it's in business. There's only so much that we know as entrepreneurs, and there's always going to be a gap in knowledge somewhere. You just hope it's never on the taxes or the financial side on that, because the IRS don't give a fuck about your lack of knowledge and your ignorance. They don't care. They don't.
Everybody thinks that taxes are pretty complicated and difficult. They're not that complicated when you owe the IRS money. It's very straightforward.
The government takes a lot of time to get back to you unless you owe money, and then they're coming for that shit right now. And that is one of the truest things I can ever think of, because if it's any type of bill that needs passed, any type of financial output they're going to have, it could take months or years or who knows, but they're going to be at your house yesterday when it's got
I'm
common
waiting on a
years,
refund check
especially.
right now. It's sent to the wrong address. It's been 7 months. They can't get a refund check to me, right? But when I owed them over $5 million with penalties and interest accruing on top of that.
Yeah, they bought the house next to you and they're sitting there in the front yard.
Yeah.
Jeez, man.
Yeah, I had to do some financial disclosures with them that would, I mean, they were so far up my rear end, they would spit out my mouth. I mean, they had every ounce of everything on me, and it's just frustrating. It's scary. It's terrifying. You know, they have unlimited amounts of power and budget. And so fighting through some of that and trying to, they just don't care. You know, there was a tax returns of all these years, and you could see the signature on them, and you can see my signature over 1,000 other documents, and it's clear that they are not the same signature. Mm-hmm. And their answer was this your business? Then fuck off and pay. That's it. It doesn't matter. All the other details are insignificant. It was your business. It was your revenue. It was your responsibility. You didn't have it. You delegated it. You gave it away to somebody else. So that's not our problem. Pay the money.
And you know what the worst thing about it is, Justin? In all reality, if you look at it from the simplest form, they're not wrong. It was your business.
You're right.
And that sucks.
Yeah.
You know, but you can never set your self-worth on a moment of time. I don't know where you got the psychological power to overcome what you've been through, but outside of death, Dan says this all the time, outside of death, every other failure in life is psychological. And I truly believe that. Yeah. But it's a lot more psychological hell when you're in jail or prison, especially for something that you didn't do, but you're accountable for.
Yeah.
And so explain to the listeners real quick the backlash of underreported revenue and what that does financially to you individually, where your 9-figure, revenue generation, good profit margins, but 300,000 is what's actually seen. Mm-hmm. And you owe a lot of money for money that you never got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So just go into that a little bit.
You bet. So when I started putting the pieces together and getting the information that I could, anybody can go to the IRS through their tax professional and do a discovery and see and get it's called a transcript, where you get what's on file and what's been filed under your name. So you can see who's 1099'd you, tax returns you've done. So we did some of that, and I saw some of the records that had been filed under my name because I never did the taxes. That was my partner's kind of part of the deal. Mm-hmm. So there were years that we had 8-figure revenue, and the tax return 8 figures, and we're talking tens of millions of dollars of revenue. But the tax returns on those years would say things like 313,000. So it wasn't just like an error; it was like a gross,
missing zeros and commas.
Yeah. It was a falsification to avoid having a big tax liability, so that tax, the money that should have gone out in taxes, could be siphoned off and taken somewhere else. So there was that issue to deal with. It was trying to put that puzzle together, and then that's what I was kind of faced with. There was 2 options these pros gave me, these tax professionals. They said, you can just hope that nobody ever looks at this, or you can file these returns over again. And if you do that, you're going to owe a bunch of money. I'm like, well, what happens if I try to go with door number 1 and I hope nobody looks, but they do? They're like, oh, you'll go to prison. I mean, they said it just as clear as, there's no question about it, because you're talking about millions of dollars.
There's way too many figures in that to not look.
Yeah. And it just looks like you did this. So I'm like, okay, let's, at the time, you say, like, how could I have done this and have the strength to do it? Like, I definitely was the grace of God. That's the only thing that kept me alive and going through it all. But in the moment of making that decision, it was the same thing that I was faced with back in the rehab days, which is, I have these kids that I'm not going, like, it just wasn't negotiable. It wasn't like well, maybe I'll take the risk. It's like, no, my kids need a dad. I'm going to be here for them. And if I have to deal with the dumb shit because I was too big of a pansy to fucking look at my own numbers for 5 years, well, c'est la vie. Let's go. Door number 2 it is. And I started putting together tax returns.
And at that point, there is only one door. And if you're going through hell in any set and time in life, why would you not keep going and get out of it?
Yeah.
The obstacle is the only way through majority of the time. The obstacle is the way, an amazing read. And normally it is. The biggest constraint and biggest pain in our life is normally the biggest sign of progress to be had on the other side. It's just hell getting through it. But there is no other way but to go through it, because you either go through it or it buries you for the remainder of your life, and then you have nothing but regret when you die.
Yeah.
And so, or in your case, you go to fucking prison. I mean, that's a whole other set of animal there. But I mean, you got to go through
any of those. And that's transformation. I put this on my Instagram the other day. This thought that transformation doesn't look like transformation when you're in the middle of it, and it looks like this. It looks like these shitty moments that just, And we were talking about this other concept that when you identify problems as opportunities, and every pile of wealth that you can look at out there and see somebody who's obtained wealth and achieved some status, or that has the things you kind of like desire, it's because they've solved a problem. They've found an elegant way to solve a problem for many. And if we all can start looking at problems as the invitation for a problem to solve, for a better solution, instead of trying to avoid them. And that's what these moments, like I would solve a problem, get to this point, and I'd hit this plateau where it's like, okay, I've kind of arrived. I've got all this cash flow. I've got the status, the cars, the things that I want. And then I stopped working. And I've done this too many times in life. And I've hit the level, and then I just kind of stop. And I kind of coast. And instead of solving the next level of problems or looking at them as puzzles and opportunities, I've tried to avoid the next set of problems. Like, now I can
just
coast.
playing defense.
Yeah. So I've let my body coast. I've taken time off from caring about what I eat and how I move it, and and I'm finally, knock on wood, I think I'm getting it, that no matter what level I get to, I will always continue to push, not for any other sake other than just to keep going, just to keep growing, just because I want more puzzles that I can solve. And if I proactively solve them, it's a lot better than the reactive, forced into these situations where I'm compelled to make these decisions between door number 1 and number 2. That sucks.
Well, and not being able to live life on your terms, being put in them situations, it's psychological warfare, because being forced against your will, mentally or physically, in any type of situation, it is like hell completely. And I just think about, like, physically in jiu-jitsu, my coach, he's a black belt now, and I'm much stronger than him physically. He kicks my ass every time, right? But you don't know how vulnerable you are until someone a lot smaller than you has you in a choke that could literally kill you in a matter of 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's just that psychological hell that you're not on your terms, and you got to build the strength and the technique to be able to do this sport in this situation to get through that thing.
Yeah.
But I think that's just the story of life. You talked about leading with faith. Faith and fear both demand that we believe in something we can't see. And we can either let the fear come in, and we believe this fear that we're being presented, we believe it and it buries us. Or we have faith that life can be different because we can't see the fear it taking over. We know it's there. I don't think anybody ever eliminates fear, but it's how you control it. And it's saying, you know what? Come on, fear, you son of a bitch. You come with me, I'm going to put my arm around you, but I'm winning today. And you can go to hell. I have faith that it's going to be the best of it.
Absolutely. Which one are you going to feed?
And that's it. Sort of the two wolves. It's the exact same thing. Right. It's like whichever one you feed. And being naive or not knowing, though, that it's right in front of you, the self-awareness that you have now is profound. I know so many people who are just not self-aware. And we all go through this, though. And I think some of the biggest growth that we have is when we're going through that hell, that state of hell, that pressure, worst the worst, and we're lacking self-awareness in maybe one little category, but then it clicks and you're like, holy shit, this is what's been holding me back. And we talk about the bottleneck all the time, and you're right there, and it's like, I just need to not do this anymore and let someone else do it. Whatever the thing may be, it's just that simple little thing that you change, and every day, like brick on brick, like you said earlier, and it compounds, and you're like, holy shit. That one minor adjustment took 5 years of time to figure out, and it expedited pain of 5 more years of hell.
Yeah. And that's why I say pay for speed, right? That you I was looking to avoid a problem and I brought a partner in. I was looking to avoid a problem and I started using drugs. I was looking to avoid a problem. Those things are just like, listeners, anybody out there, like, don't try to avoid the problems. Take something. Here's the gap. Entrepreneurs like to solve problems, and that's what makes us special, right? We look at something, we frame it up like, I can put lipstick on that pig. I look pretty good. And so we go at things like that old 80s television show MacGyver. Just give me a piece of duct tape, a paper clip, some gum. All set. I can get you dialed in. So when we look at these issues where we don't have the awareness, the knowledge, the expertise, like taxes, like numbers, like spreadsheets, because most of us visionary entrepreneurs don't start because we're really good at that kind of shit.
We're not normally accountants, no.
No, exactly. So we look at it, and because we can't put as much lipstick on it and make the whole thing look good, we think a solution to our numbers is being our accountant. And so we can see the gap between where we are and where an accountant talks. We're like, oh man, I'm never going to do that. That's the fallacy. That's the wrong paradigm. Like with the clients that I coach, I tell them the first thing that they do, you want to make $1 million move over the next year, 2 or 3, set up a meeting with your CPA once a quarter. That's all. And every one of them say, well, for what? Like, that's not the point. See, it's to get you some reps in. It's going to cost you a couple $100 to have the meeting. Big deal. Yep. But the outcome of that meeting is you don't have to be a CPA or get a master's degree in accounting to start talking about what is going on in your world. Most people talk to their accountant in March when their accountant is like, holy shit, I got 12,000 tax returns to get done in the next 3 days. Yep. And they think they're going to get good advice at that time? Come on. That's ridiculous.
It's proactive or reactive, and I agree 1,000% on what you said about the quarterly meeting. It's just making sure that even if you don't have the answers or don't know what questions to ask, it's having the dialogue out there about where you're at, what do you see the next quarter, and just the simplicity of that might open up dialogue that would literally save like in your situation everything. It could have saved you from going through that. And so now, looking back at it now, it has to be glaringly obvious you should have done these things, but it's always obvious when it's 2020. Yeah, connecting the dots, dude. It's like a mathematical equation. It's 2 + 2, but moving forward, it's not. And that's, I think, where real power comes in. Is one of my core values in my coaching business is win or learn. I win, get my desired outcome, or I learn a lesson. Some of them lessons are fucking hell. And it just is what it is. Some of them are bloody hell, but learning lessons nonetheless, because I can't accept a loss or a failure. And I learn from everything that I don't achieve or I desire to achieve and don't hit. And I can't accept the loss though. Yeah. Because I'm taking it as a learning lesson. No matter what, like in your experience, all the things that you've been through have made you who you are today. And now you're telling your story and you're going to change lives because of it. So it was meant to happen that way because that's exactly what happened. And whatever happens in the future is exactly what's meant to happen. And you're probably going to be someone that changes thousands of people's lives because of it. And that was the whole purpose of it in the beginning. It was just a hard path to get where you're at today.
Yep. And, you can make that choice to learn or to win. I like that. That's a good frame. It helps you to see problems as puzzles, not as problems, and to lean into them rather than try to avoid them. So I like that. I like that a lot.
Well, it's the awareness part, like acknowledgement of this thing. Yep, I have a cash flow constraint right now. Okay. Yeah. Play the 5 whys like a 5-year-old. That's how I do a lot of my thinking. When I know the answer to a question, and someone would ask me it, I don't say, yep, do this or that. I'll say, well, what's your suggestion? Why do you think that's the case? And then I'll play like the 5 whys and get them to answer the question for themselves before I do it as like a way to help them learn and then help me see how they operate. And like, that's something that I've always used, but good judgment comes from experience and experience comes from bad judgment. I guarantee you're not going to make the same mistakes you've already made. And that's because you have experience with having bad judgment, but you're good judgment now is because of that experience.
For sure. And that's what I want. Yeah, that's why I mentioned the story of the quarterly call with your tax pro, because it's literally one of the first things that I get into with my coaching with people, because that's a common thread. And so if anybody's hearing this, like that's your free takeaway here today. And you don't need to know what you're going to talk about. Like you just need to take some action and execute on that. And be this much better. You can win this much or learn this much, like Jacob says here, that in that meeting, I want to tell you about one of the meetings I had that was just kind of a fun story I've shared before. I have these meetings now. I have a playbook on how to set up these meetings. If you want it, just send me a message. I'll give it to you. I have a playbook on how to hire a CPA if you don't have one, because that's another thing that entrepreneurs do, and I did wrong, because we look at lipstick on the pig and we find the first option. We think, oh, that's going to be a great solution. And it's not always the case. Okay, we need to get a match. We need to get somebody that can work with us. But in one of my quarterly calls, it was November, because that's a good time to talk to a CPA. They ain't got shit going on. Okay, they just passed all the extension deadlines and everything, and so now they're just getting ready to cruise into the holidays. I get on the phone. His name's Paul, and I'm like, Paul, what's up? He's like, hey, how's the things going out there in New England? And we chat for a minute, and I'm like, you don't believe this shit. Like, there was a snowstorm, the first snow of the season. It was like this much. It was like a quarter of it's just barely a dusting. I haven't changed the snow tires yet, and my wife's taking the kids to school out in the car and going to a job and doing some things, just going out for the morning. She slides off the road, hits a mailbox, everybody's fine, but in this vehicle that we were about to turn in, there's a lease we were turning in a couple of weeks, she does like $18,000 of damage. Somehow she manages to hit like the front, the side, the back door, the back quarter. Like she hits all these things, and just with this crazy way it slid, and then got back on the road and off she went. And I'm telling the story just because I like to talk about stories and I like to bullshit, And he hears it through his accounting lens, and he's like, wait, was that the one that you're leasing from the such and such entity in this I'm like, yeah. Can you believe that? I'm just more kind of like bitching about it.
Right.
And he's like, are you going to replace it? And I said, well, yeah, I got to turn it in a couple of weeks or like next month or something. He's like, could you do it before the end of the year? I was like, I don't know. Like, what are you going to buy for a replacement? He starts to get like animated. He's like, what are you going to replace it with? I'm like, I don't know, bro. Chill out. Like, what? I'm kind of like, why are you getting all worked up? And he's like, the accelerated depreciation of half-ton vehicles, blah, blah, blah. And he starts spouting off tax code. I'm like, whoa, what? You remember who you're talking to here. What the hell are you saying? He's like, go buy a truck for the business before the end of the year because you can write the whole thing off. I'm like, oh, now you're speaking my language.
Yeah, so, now I get it.
Yeah. So I did, Jacob.
I know exactly what you're talking about too, yeah.
I got the truck, right? The paperwork had the closing date of 12/30, whatever the year was. Like the day before the last day, I was able to write the whole thing off that year, which took $57,000. But that also dropped my taxable income because it took a chunk out of that. So the rest of the money I'm paying taxes on was at a lower rate. So that one move, just me talking to it wasn't a tax strategy session, people. I want you to understand. I was simply bitching about what had happened a few days before when my wife ran the car into a mailbox. And it saved us tens and tens of thousands of dollars.
Way more than the actual like $18,000 bill for the car, right?
100. And the insurance paid it anyway. Yeah. So it was fine, and it was such a big move ahead. And I was like, Paul, you're the man. That was just awesome.
And that's what you need that type of personnel for, because they don't hear mailbox car accident. They hear $18,000 car trade-in depreciation. Like their rabbit hole is so much different than what your explanation is, because their logical brain and your logical brain, they're hearing something different than you're explaining, which is why they do what they do.
Yeah, 100%. That's 100%. And that's why I think you pay for speed, Jacob. Like you get a coach, you get people, you get advisors, you get people.
Yes.
You don't need to relegate your whole business over to somebody else like my dumbass did. But you do need to find people that have achieved the levels of success that you want, and you say, what did you do? How did you get there? What standards did you have to hold to achieve that? And then I'm just not that smart. I just know how to copy and paste. You know what I mean? Like I've had the shit kicked out of me. I'm like, okay, that's not fun. Let's look at success and copy, paste, boom. That's the way to go.
There isn't very much new information today. The foundations from 1937 when Napoleon Hill wrote Think and Grow Rich are still pretty true to this day.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite books. I probably go through it once a year.
Yeah, same.
There isn't a lot of difference from then to now.
No.
The founding entrepreneurs of, the USA that built the economic system from 1900 on, like, it's all pretty true in principle. It's just articulated a different way. You put your own, you make it work. You collect information, make it work for you. And we've all done it for the last 150 years, really. And so one of my old, I used to train at Westside Barbell, powerlifting gym in Columbus, Ohio, world-renowned powerlifting gym. And Louis Simmons, the owner of it, was legendary. He benched like 500 or 600 at 60 years old. Like, just he's fucking insane. You have to look up Westside versus the World if you ever need a video to sit down and watch, because it's unbelievable. And one of the most hardcore, insane places you've ever been. I've seen 800 pounds drop on people's chests like it was nothing, like legit 800 pounds. I was spotting the fucking guy doing it too. So I got stories for days there. But
man,
he had said, so he studied the Germans and the Soviets and all these different techniques of lifting to get his guys stronger. And someone had called him out because in a magazine he took bands and chains and incorporated it with powerlifting, like as a way to heal your body better, but still get the resistance. So overload the resistance of a band where you're fighting through the band and not having the actual weight break your back, essentially.
Okay.
And so as he was explaining this in one of the magazines, someone had said something. He's like, yeah, you might be right. I didn't invent toilet paper either, but I'm smart enough to wipe my ass with it. The information is out there everywhere, and a lot of it's for free.
Yeah.
It's just being smart enough to use the information that's out there.
Yeah,
And that's where
100%.
I think there's a huge discrepancy, and everybody wants more, but they're not wanting to do more.
Yeah.
They want change in their income. They don't want to change their day to day. And so you can't become a different version of yourself or have a different outcome if you don't change who you are every day or have a standard in place that you live by and continue to push forward. I fall down all the time, but I promise you I'm falling forward and I'm not falling back. And that's the standard that I live by.
Yep.
I'll fall, but I'll get back up and I'll still be going forward.
And you have the wherewithal to bring in other people that have, they're further ahead on the path from you, so you can follow in some of their footsteps.
Absolutely.
That's key. That's speed, right? Time is the great equalizer. We all have the same amount of it. But why do Oprah, Elon, and those kind of people get such a higher rate of return on their time? Because they know how to really optimize the shit out of it. And they only do high leverage tasks, you know? Or tasks that really light them up and give them joy and just fill their heart. And that's the difference.
And most of them, for that type of personnel, it's what generates the most revenue for them, in general. So, I read Elon Musk's book here recently, and I just finished it up like a week or two ago. Absolutely incredible book. If you haven't read it, it's just phenomenal. But such a, the first principles thinking that he utilizes, I'm huge on it. And in my coaching program, I created my own frame for it. I call it prosperity principles. And that thought process is so empowering. But you said something just a minute ago that I really want the listeners to listen to. My coaching program is called Unlocking Greatness. So it's all about unpacking the greatness inside of everyone. I think everybody has greatness inside of them. And I have a key to unlocking that greatness. It's knowledge. It's the what. It's getting the knowledge that you need to get where you want to go.
Yeah.
And then it's the execution. You have to execute on knowledge. Collecting knowledge without execution is meaningless.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? It doesn't do anything. It's just brain space being filled up if you don't do something with it. So you take the knowledge, you take the execution, and then the last part of the key is you. It's about building the system that can go unlock that greatness, that can achieve the things that you desire to achieve. And that's what I look at as the key. It's that basic: knowledge, execution, you.
For sure.
And when you take the knowledge, you execute on it, you build your system that gives you the success and freedom that you desire to have.
Yeah.
And
I
Go.
was just going to say that I think a lot of people hear that word system. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs that I talk to get a little bit frightened about that because they're like, yeah, I'm not that good with systems. I'm the visionary. I need an operator. And that may be true, but system is anything that saves yourself time, energy, money. SYSTEM. Like anything. When I decided a year ago that I was going to start getting in shape, I needed a system because at first it was all based on my motivation and my emotions. So I'd get up and think,
Temporary.
I want to work out.
Yeah.
Fuck, no, I don't want to work out.
Temporary.
I want to work out.
Yeah.
Fuck, no, I don't want to work out. I don't do that. So I recognize that's not happening very often. I need a system. What could be a system? Well, I have a habit of brushing my teeth the second I wake up. I read this thing in Ayurveda when I was meditating back in New England that if you brush your tongue and you get the toxins off from everything and your teeth, first thing, then it kind of sets you up for a healthy day. So I bought into that. I've been doing it every day for 10 years.
Yeah.
So right next to the toothbrush, I would set workout clothes. So I wouldn't think about it. I'd pick my clothes the night before. That's my first system for getting healthy.
Yep.
Now I'm down to 8.6% body fat, and I work out every single day. I eat healthy. I have meal prep. And it started with that system. So stop making it so damn complicated and looking for reasons why it might not work, and find one thing that you can create a system around to save yourself time, energy, or money.
I say that all the time. You know, you have to have a standard in your life. If you don't stand for something with your standards, then you stand for nothing. And the standards of greatness. This is my non-negotiable every day. The first one is no snooze. It's about the mentality, dude. I wake up at 2:50 a.m. Monday through Friday. I don't hit the fucking snooze button. It's not optional. Fuck your feelings. Follow the plan. This is my plan. This is what I do. And there's nights I go to bed at 11 or midnight, not by choice, but by situation. I just follow the plan because it's not about, is it the best for me health-wise? Absolutely, probably not. But is it what I need to do to live by that standard? Yes. And that is my system. No snooze. Physical output of 10 minutes a day. And it's not about this intense, like 7 days a week, fucking do CrossFit, do all this. No, it's about 10 minutes of intentional movement a day. It's about being mindful of your body movement, 10-minute walk after a meal, whatever it is. But you have 10 minutes set aside every day just to move because it's momentum, it's motion going forward.
For sure.
I work out like a savage 5 or 6, sometimes 7 days a week. But I don't ever take a full day where I'm not moving with intent because it's continue to push forward. And like I said earlier, that's allowing me to fall forward and not fall back.
Yeah.
So 10 minutes a day, the physical output, mental input, garbage in, garbage out. Forget the garbage, quality in, quality out. You have to continue to growth 10 minutes a day. And it's just a little microdosing every day, but it's so you don't ever skip a day. Yeah. Skipping that day, missing that process is what becomes the end all be all, because the second time that happens, it's a new habit.
Yeah, for sure.
And it becomes detrimental to you long term. One time it's a mistake. Second time you start a new habit. The next thing
you realize what it's actually doing. Like I saw this in my son today. You know, like he's working on getting into college to play baseball. He really loves baseball, and he's been following a really good program where he's holding himself accountable. He's tracking a lot of stats and progress every single day. He's got a good program. But some days, as a 17-year-old, you like to stay out and hang out with pretty girls and do what 17-year-olds like to do. And when so last night was the second night that he stayed out a little later than he wanted himself to stay out. And then he comes home this morning. He doesn't have his protein shake ready to go when he goes out the door for the gym. So he still gets up to go out the door for the gym at 6 a.m., which is impressive. But he's just off a little bit. Yep. And then that turns into a little more scrolling instead of making his second meal. So now these dominoes start to fall. Yep. And now what I can see as a parent that's so transparent is I can see his energy. Like he feels shitty. He's treating people poorly because he compromised himself. Like he compromised his own integrity. And 17, you're not really seeing that just yet. So my job as a parent that I'm finally learning after 23 years is to guide him back into this path where he can be true to himself and have his own integrity restored. So if I do it for him, he's fucked. If I don't help him get back on track, he's fucked.
Let him fall.
Yeah.
You just got to be there for him to pick him up when he's down.
That's right.
You got to let it fall.
A little nudge on the backside to help him run back that way. Yeah. But he's got to do it himself. If he doesn't, then so that I see that, and we do the same thing. It's human nature. My wife said the same thing. That's human nature. I said it sure is. Like if we mess up and we compromise if you hit the snooze bar, you're going to pay the price throughout the day. And it may be subtle, it may be hard, and you may try to numb it, you may try to avoid it, but you're going to know that's a standard you said you were going to hold, you didn't hold it. So if you just start with a few basic things and then build from that foundation, nobody starts building a house from the roof down. They start on the bottom and they start going up.
1,000%. And I always say, don't try to go all in. Don't try to do everything right now. Just do something and just a little bit of it every day. And that's why the standard for me is so basic. So the fourth one is track and attack. I track my progress. You must track your progress. If you don't have a target in life, if you don't know the growth that you're having, you can't manage it. You cannot manage what you can't measure. So you got to track progress, and then you got to attack every day. And by attack every day, I mean intentional attention. So if you have a nap scheduled for Sunday afternoon, take the best fucking nap of your life and enjoy it. It's just about being present in the moment, about attacking the day for what you're supposed to do that day. And then the last one, you nailed it with the preparation, but the last one's gratitude preparation. Every day wins or learning lessons. You end on a win or learning lesson every single day. You don't go to bed angry. You don't go to bed like distraught, or you have a moment of clarity before you rest your eyes every single day. Today was tough, but I learned this. Yeah. And it's just having gratitude for whatever you're doing, because being alive is something to have gratitude for in itself. Nobody can sit here and tell me if they have a pulse that they don't have a reason to be grateful at the end of the day. And then preparation. You nailed it with the preparation. I am a psychopath about this. Next to my toothbrush, I have the same thing. I have my gym clothes for 3 a.m. Next to that, my business clothes for the day. I know already by 7 a.m. I have essentially worked out. I've done an hour and a half personal development, hour and a half of training dedicated. I have a clear slate for my day. I know exactly what I'm doing that day. My clothes are set out. My gallon jug of aminos right here every day set out ready for me. I have my meals. I don't have to turn my brain on until 7 a.m. And thank God, because I'm not that damn smart to begin with. So I get better, accelerate my progress because I prepare for it. If you fail to prepare to fail. And that's my daily standard. And it is basic. It's simple. I've been doing it for a long time. And I would not have progressed like I did and be where I'm at today if it wasn't for that little thing done consistently for a long time. Yep. Continuity, man. It's a superpower. It truly is.
It is. My nephew came up to me in the gym, and it was funny. He had his earpods in, and I saw him one day. It was a Sunday afternoon, and he comes over and he's like, he takes his earpods. He's like, hey man, quick question. So what do you think I should do? I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, just to be financially independent. I'm like, oh shit, just that? And I'm like, that's a little bit more than I'm just going to take my earpod out and have a quick thing. You got to give me what are you doing? What are you talking about? What are your goals? And
what that looks like.
Yeah. I gave him a couple of things, just keep, do some personal development and stuff. And then he walked away and I went back to my set and I finished that set and I went back to him and I'm like, take your fucking AirPod out. I'm like, here's what you need to do. You need to stay consistent. Because if there's one thing, if you can boil it down to one word, that's it. It's continuity or consistency. Read every day or work out every day or save one dime on every dollar you make. Whatever it is, do it with consistency. Because if I could go back to, he's turned 22 yesterday. And I said, if I could go back to my 21-year-old dumb ass self and just say, stop trying to make everything happen overnight and just be willing to stack them. Because holy man, that was the concept that I missed. Yeah.
And personal development, when people hear that, it's such a catchphrase and it goes on deaf ears, I think, now, because I don't think anyone that is starting out understands what it means. This is my definition, intentionally working on becoming the person that your future requires. It's all about building you as an individual, investing in yourself. Anyone that is successful in life, that has achieved any type of, call it status or entrepreneurship or wealth, they have all invested in themselves by having someone in their corner that's been where they're at. Like you said earlier, the most confidence that you will ever get for yourself is when you invest in someone that helps you progress and believes in you. And I, just from personal experience, I'm maybe even went too overboard at the beginning of my journey, but I will always invest in me, because if I don't invest in me, I'm not becoming a better version of myself. And I know that when you pay attention, like Dan says. So when you invest in something, it creates such a different level of confidence because you feel obligated at that point to do it, not just for yourself, but now as an entrepreneur, or now for the 100 families that I'm responsible for, or all the people that rely on me every day to show up. I don't have a fucking choice. I have to show up. So I'm human too, and you're human, Justin, just the same. So we got to have people in our corner that are cheering us up when we're falling. We carry a lot of weight too, and it's different weight. It's heavier, but it's also rewarding because we are strong enough to carry it, and that's why we're still carrying it. And
I talked to a lot of
it
guys.
never gets lighter. We just get better.
Yeah. And you shouldn't ask for it to be lighter. You should just ask for it to get better.
You should expect it. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had a lot of clients coming in from the trades lately. I guess the message is kind of resonating there for some reason or another. But the plumbers, the electricians, HVAC companies,
My people.
yeah, and these guys are coming in, and they feel there's a little bit of a sense of maybe it's almost shame-ish that they don't have the answers for it, that they might, kind of want to talk about a coach, but maybe I shouldn't need a coach. And I'm like, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, like all these people, they have dozens of coaches. Anybody that you ever have idolized or put up on a pedestal has coaches. I've paid over $5 million in personal development with consultants, coaches, advisors. And it doesn't stop. I'm not saying it because that's the best return on investment that you can make. And if you, again, pay for speed, because the one thing that we all have the same of is time. And if you can figure out a way to get from A to B faster than stumbling your way through trial and error or learning these hard lessons that I've gone through and shared with you today, pay for the speed, write the check, get the blueprint, copy, paste, Command C, Command V. It's a lot easier than writing out the whole thing.
It is. And I don't believe in shortcuts in life, but I do believe in accelerators. And so just like what you're saying, if you want to accelerate progress, what ends up happening is the investment that you make is nothing in comparison to what you get back in return on it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen all at once. You have to be willing to put the work in and have faith that the outcome will be there. Entrepreneurship, dude, there's one guarantee about entrepreneurship, and it is going to be fucking hard. It's going to take longer than you expect, and it's not going to happen the way that you think it's going to.
Nope.
And if I had to define entrepreneurship, I would just say it is being happy with the progress that you make while at the same time not being happy with the rate at which you made it, because the speed is something that is never enough for a wild, crazy entrepreneur. We all want acceleration in it, and that's what you're paying for. Just like you said, acceleration is what we're paying for.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, cool, man. Love it.
Justin, I could sit here and literally do this for hours. I'm going to request that you come back on the show.
Okay.
Sometime soon, whenever you want, dude. We haven't even scratched the surface on your freaking story. It's incredible. And I think, you touching on that blue collar nation, like part of the world.
Yeah.
I think you could have some profound wisdom for them. I'm on a mission to really open up opportunity for and create value and awareness for the industry that never had that thought. It's very prideful, very old school.
Yep.
And Justin, I'm here to tell you the way it's always been done is not the best way. And I will fist fight anybody that tells me this is the way we've always been done. It's got to just do it this way. Burn that shit to the ground. Let's start over. Because at the end of the day, man, the world's evolving, and if you're not changing and evolving with it, you're going to get ran over by it.
Yeah.
I see this huge discrepancy in willingness to get help, ask for help, or feel worthy of more in life.
Yep.
And the mindset stuff that you talked about, it's just been absolutely profound. I'm honored to have you on the show today. It's been absolutely incredible. So I thank you for your time.
You bet. My pleasure. Thanks for having me. I'd love to come back. And anybody out there in the trades, in these areas that feel like, just in parting, I want to say that you started your business because you're really good at a thing. And usually you hit a level where the thing, if you're baking cookies, you're good in the kitchen. So the picture of that is you're probably wearing an apron and you got flour going all over the place. If you're a plumber, you're bent over and you're doing stuff with pipes and how things flow downhill. And but now you've got a level, and I see this over and over again, where you've built this goodwill in the community. You have a great reputation because you know how to get shit done. but you didn't start planning to make new, like now you got people to manage. So you got to become a manager of people. It's not in the plumbing handbook, man. You know, you got to take a page out of a different book. And it doesn't take that much to start getting better and unlock untold levels of wealth and the ability to exit those kind of companies because they can run without you as the only guy that can hold it all together. So keep up the fight. And thanks for having me, Jacob. It's been great.
Absolutely. Justin, where can the people find you at? And then I'm just going to give you the floor to close the show out. Any final thoughts or anything else you want to say?
All right, cool. Come find me on Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok. It's all at It's Justin Lund. Same handle, same username there. And if there's anything that has stood out here, like if you don't have a CPA or you feel like you need a new tax person or maybe you made a bad choice in that, just drop me a comment. And I've got thousands of different playbooks that we've created for ourselves and for our clients. And anything I have, you can have. Just tell me what you need, and it's yours. We keep them all in Google Docs. It's just a link. I don't need your email. I don't need a blood sample. Like anything that I could do to help you get a little further ahead and avoid some of those pitfalls that I've gotten my ass kicked on, I'm happy to share. So thanks for having me.
Incredible, man. Justin, I appreciate your time. It's been the Iron Infrastructure Podcast, another edition with Justin. You're a freaking beast. This was awesome. We'll see you next time. Bye. This episode of the Iron and Infrastructure Podcast is brought to you by R&R Pipeline Inc., an infrastructure company. Join our team today at rrpipeleineinc.com